Good afternoon. I want to speak a little bit about a few of these paintings that I will be giving a demonstration on. Pretty much, I'll start off by saying that two of these paintings that I'm completing, well, not completing, but working on, are at two different stages in production. A lot of these painting. I'm sorry. So a lot of these tutorials, it seems to me, online want you to think that it's just a transferring an image and then it's pretty much painting by numbers, and it's really not that way. I personally feel that they these videos want you to eventually, I think they really just want you to buy these things from machines, you know. Someone wanted one of these from me in a week, and I pretty much told them I don't work that way. We don't all create art, especially oil paintings, in a day or two, or even in a week, the way they did, like, say, in the 1960s. I prefer the 1600s. So, there's a difference. So, I will show an example of pretty much how I create these. So, pretty much you're not just transferring an image to say something like this. So pretty much you're not transferring an image just directly on here and painting by numbers, as I mentioned before. What you're really doing is you're painting by hand. Painting by hand, everything. So this is, like, for example, a Shih Tzu. Like the fact that we match, right? The green and the red. I didn't plan that. However, with something like this, say, if you wanted to really just go by hand, you would, at most, as far as a straight edge, you would probably just use, say, a ruler, or if you couldn't afford a ruler, maybe even a folder, you know, and make that line with a pencil, and that's it. That's it. That's the only straight edge you need on here. So after that, everything, literally everything, is freehand. Everything, and you would just eyeball it, just the same way you would eyeball a portrait, you know, for someone in a sitting, a portrait for sitting. Everything is eyeballed, and actually for a portrait for sitting, you would not even need a straight edge. So everything, literally, for something like that would be from scratch, would be freehand. So it's not just painting by numbers, or, you know, filling it in. It's everything is literally by hand. And so actually, with this example right here, I believe the only thing that was used was the only thing that I used was a ruler for that background, and then, well, no, a ruler to get the straight edge, and then this was sketched on and then filled in. Now, actually, when I first started painting, this would not have even been, the image would not have even been sketched on and then painted, because you'll see you have to build upon and build upon and build upon after you lay the initial coating of paint, and it dries. You have to add on and add on and add on, which gives it a more realistic look. So when you're first starting, you're not even sketching an image on there. Well, this is in a sitting situation, so it makes sense to sketch it on, you know. However, there are instances that if you're just going to go at it, then nothing is sketched on here. You just literally go at it, and you are it's just using observation. So for this, the only thing laid out before the actual painting is that straight edge, and everything else is freehand. So some of this might be edited, so that well, of course it's going to be edited. Like I'm to give you a clear representation of what's going on here. So first, this was out of commission for a little while, so I'll just get the dust and the debris off. I learned this the hard way. Sometimes you'll pick up a piece after a few weeks waiting for it to dry, and you'll just, go right to painting, and you'll look up close, and you'll see that there's debris everywhere, and a bit of eraser here, or or food or whatever, and it'll actually literally be stuck in the paint. So if you don't want that, it's best to clean it off, beforehand. Sorry. So I'll try to keep. I'll try to just show you. I'll try to just show a basic applique or application of. I think that's the right word, or what I mean. Application for this geese up here, and for some reason I wanted to start with I want to complete it in black and white first, and then add the color after it dries. And you could this could have even been done in black and white first. As you can see, this is almost like a light brown, closer to what it's going to be in the end. However, I could have done the whole thing in black and white first. It almost kind of put you in the mind of a sketch, and then added the color. However, that's one way of doing it. However, so this geese is going to be started with basic black and white first. So what I'll do is, and I'll edit when I have to, for the viewers. And as you can see, this isn't really secure on here, and it doesn't have to be, as long as you watch and make sure that it does not fall off of the easel. So here's the sketch up here. I would before hold it in the other hand. And then it's a little harder that way. You have to keep, turning back and forth. And in the beginning, doing, going back and forth, it's not that hard. But after 20 years of doing this, after 20 years of this, it's try to make it as easy on yourself as possible. Not as easy as getting your art from a machine. We don't want that. So anything short of that. Okay, well, not anything. But so what I'm doing first is adding and I want to make sure that that the dust is off of this as well, because it's the same thing here. The dust will accumulate. You have dust all in your paint. And you don't want the dust in your paint. You want the dust. You want everything dusted, so it makes it. You'll have a clear portrait, and it really makes a difference in the end. If you're doing something like, say, something with loose brush strokes, and something that's probably that you will do in a day, something that may not look as good as a Van Gogh, but will have the brush strokes of a Van Gogh, then making sure that there's no dust and all. Well, then you don't even have to worry about the dust, because you're doing it all in a day, So, so here's a little bit of black paint, and then a little bit of white paint. I'm have to re-up on the white, so it's running a little low, but I wanted to do this today, and I think I have enough. We'll see. So here I'm going to mix the, and this is what I would normally do. I'll makes it easier on myself instead of with one brush in the mouth. And then I'm going to mix here. I'm going to mix the paints, and to get 2 shades of gray. I think 2 shades will be enough for the initial groundwork for the geese. As you can see, from the tail to I was about to say the ceiling, the tail to the top of the portrait, you want to kind of gauge the amount of space that you have, and this is about in the center, a little more towards the top 2/3 of the canvas. So I think I want to make this. Well, let me see how this works. You see, it's not. You see, I'm not a bot, so it's not all. Got to use this up here, And you're pretty much making the breast. And once I paint the breast, I'll show you the viewers the breast, and then how I go from there. You see, imagine how Van Gogh might have felt, right? Yeah, not fun. Not fun. Sometimes it can be, but not always fun. That's pretty much I was about to say the vest, the breast. You're right. Not the best. Okay. And you could even stop here. You see, depending on how much work you've done in a day. If say, for example, depending on how much work you have done in a day, or how much time you have, or if you want to work on it a little, you could just add this here. Just add the breast. You see, of the goose, and come back to it after it dries. Or if you had to add it more shadow, you can even add shadow now, depending on how strong of a shadow you want it in there. You might want it to dry first. or you can also add some of the shadow in there now, and then after it dries, go back and add it later, or clean it up, go back and or clean it up later. Also, so here's the breast, and then I'll add on here. I'll add on here the head of the geese. Now, after I add the head of the geese, I'll go in and add the wings and the tail and the one and the foot. Also, now this might be a little easier to see. Is when adding the head. So you see here, it's going to be, so you see how the neck and the head, they're leaner and longer. So you're pretty much, that's what I'm adding. That's pretty much what I'm adding now. So, and in the sketch, it shows that the head is almost the length, the head and the neck are almost the length of the body. So that helps some. Another way to gauge it is the beak. You see it ends at the top of the dog's ear. So that's as far as you're going. You see that beak? A little harder to see than in person. But let me add the neck, and then first I'll add the neck, and then you'll see a clear representation of what I am talking about here when adding the neck. Show you now. You see? See that geese flying overhead? Or a part of a geese. Anyone here like geese? Or duck? I meant to say duck. Okay, so here we go. Or geese. I think I've had both. It's a little gamey for me, but with a nice sauce. A little gamey for me. Has to have the right sauce. So the neck looks a little, not quite as, looks not quite as thin on here. I think the breast is a little wider. And I would stop here, however, I would like you to, I would like the viewers, I would like you to see an added wing, at least. I'll try to do as much as I can. However, you want to keep it as simple as possible, you really do. And when you know, because some of them are more difficult and they take more out of you, and they really do. So you want to save that for the more difficult pieces. And when they're more simple, when they're, you know, when the piece is more simple, then, you know, you lucked out, you know, then you could, you know, like I said, knock it down to a half hour, you know, because those really difficult pieces can take, you know, there were days that I spent, have spent, when I did it my dog, you know, for example, and I don't know, I think that was 2010 or 2009, I think it was 2009, that I would say I would spend maybe 4 hours, felt like 5, 6, you know, and so after going back, this is all in one day, going back to it, after a 4 hour stretch, 4 or 5 hour stretch, later on I would have to go back to it for another hour. On there for you so you can see. how that looks. So once again, so we're not, or this way you can, well, some people might not mind that with the neck, but after, like I said, 20 years, you would at least movement the, as possible, the better. You don't want neck pain doing this. I've had them before, so I'm adding the lighter, and this is actually lighter than I thought it would be. It's actually a better contrast than I thought it would be, which is good. So when you're doing this, great. So that's good. You see it's a better contrast. You see. So you see, it's not easy. You gotta keep going and adding the shadows. And I started this, I would say, about 2 months ago. So, but I didn't. I wish I could have did it straight through, but I didn't. It wasn't possible this time. You know. So he's taking flight, or she is taking flight. And you also want to make, I meant to say, is the least mistakes as possible. So this is not for, someone who likes mistakes. It's not. This is for someone who does not like mistakes. Because the more mistakes you make, the messier it's going to look in the end. Kind of like life, Let me stop. I'm not sure. I've had my share of mistakes as well in life. Alright, but let me focus on the painting. Okay. For now. Alright, so that looks good right here. Alright. I don't know, I'm thinking, sorry about this, something just came up on my screen. I might have to go back in here, but just do the best that I can, because remember, the more mistakes you make, the messier it'll look in the end. So that's why that's why it's important to clean it up. It's not it has nothing to do with being picky. When you see these things, being done, it's about they'll look messier in the end. If they're not, if you don't clean up the brush strokes, you don't want it to look like a really messy. So, and this is not one of the great Van Goghs. So I think one of my first portraits I did specifically in his style. His style was, I thought he was a great painter, and I wanted to capture my own version of that. And only Van Gogh could really do a good Van Gogh, but I try my best. But I think my style is better for, I like realist, I like the realist portraiture. It's my favorite portraiture. And here is the bottom wing. You see that looks more consumer friendly, right? You see, we have to add the shadows, though. It's not completely done. Gotta add those shadows there. Okay, we don't want something. Well, I don't want something that looks like it was done in a factory. Even a Van Gogh did not look like it was done in the factory. In fact, it looked like anything but something that was done in a factory. And that's not to say that there aren't beautiful works of art that are done in more of a factory setting. I love Andy Warhol's work, I really do, or I wouldn't bring it up, or I would edit it out, right? I do love Andy Warhol's work. I love even his image. I uh, uh, loved it for what it was at the time, and but I always have a motto. I've always had the motto: "Older is better," right? So it just doesn't compare to me to something like a Da Vinci, or a Goya, or those great artists that came before, and I just tend to think that anything done in a factory, not just something that you would put on the wall, uh, even to the clothes that we wear, furniture. So not just portraiture. I think anything done in a factory is inferior to things done by hand. So here's the wing, the second wing up here. See that second wing? Now that's a good step. That's a good step. So there you have it. I think we'll finish with that, and I will try to do another this week, and after I'll finish up here, and then next week what I'll do is I will give an example of how to go and paint. Uh, Even inside of this black and white image to give it more definition next time. So let me just complete this top wing here. Things, as I said before, it's not easy. I've even had paintings that I've altered after framing. So I remember there was a painting that so even I have been wrong at times. With an artwork. For example, depending, and because it depends on how great the artwork is. When I painted Jesus Christ, in I think 2010, my grandmother made the statement that it had cold eyes, and I thought it had cold eyes as well, but I wanted it to have. I wanted it to stand out. And I thought, of course, that I was right, being the artist, So the artist Antoine, right? So I had it framed anyway, the way that it was, and I think she mentioned to me that it had cold eyes. This was after I had it framed, because of course then that's when I showed it to her on my wall, and I said, I don't. I said, no, she's wrong. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. So, but it took about 2 years. 2 years, and I, after looking at it day and night, and I realized that she was right. So I took it out of the frame. I took it myself. I had gotten it professionally framed. I don't know how to frame these. I don't know how to frame these things myself. It's too much for me. After I got it, after I got it framed, I literally took it out of the frame, right, and by hand, because they showed me how to get it undone. If you have to. I literally took it out of the frame and altered it, myself, and then slipped it back in the frame, fixed the screws. But the altering process took, I would say, maybe 2-3 weeks to probably longer. I think possibly 2 weeks to a month, maybe 2 weeks to a month, 3-4 weeks to get the eyes the way that they should look. And the frame is what really did it, because sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes you can't always tell how something is going to, if something looks right, until after it's framed, because it gives you another perspective. And I've been told that Da Vinci carried the Mona Lisa for years. What I've heard is most of his life, or if not his whole lifetime, most of his life, because he was never quite satisfied with it. And you see that the time and dedication really paid off. So here we are, and that's the initial groundwork for the geese. And I will see you next week to work on it some more. Okay.